Hey, this is Jesse Labelle, and you're at Popularity.
Now that the album's been out for a while, looking back at it, are you still satisfied?
100%. I'm so happy with this record. It's probably, well, it's only the second one I've made, but it's the only record I've made from top to bottom that I'm completely happy and proud of.
And now looking back at the whole creation process for it, what immediately comes to mind?
There's a cabin out in the middle of the woods near Fort Erie. I don't know, do you know Ontario well? Somewhat.
I think I recognize that name.
So Fort Erie is right by the border of Buffalo, and the producer, Toggs, he had this woodshed that he converted into a studio. And just the time in the studio is what I really remember more than anything else. You know, being out in the woods, kind of in the middle of nowhere with no distractions at all. That's the one place I remember.
How have things changed for you since like the beginning until now?
It's changed drastically. I mean, I'd never been across the country and I'd never played in venues like this at all. You know, getting to hear myself on the radio. Basically, there's small successes that I've had. There's a lot larger ones that I still want to accomplish, but I'm living the dream that I've always wanted to actually live. So that's definitely something that's become a tangible reality for me.
What are those larger successes?
International successes, you know, taking my music beyond the boundaries of just this country, really traveling and letting my music take me around the entire world.
How do you feel that you've seen yourself change as just a musician and an artist from the last into this album?
I've learned to push myself a lot more. I used to play very safe. I used to play within boundaries vocally and instrumentally, and performance-wise I used to just do what I was comfortable with. And really, since I've been making more music and especially touring, I've pushed myself outside of those boundaries, and the result, you know, what you get when you come out and see a live show now is very indicative of a lot of that personal and, you know, musical change that I've gone through. Everything is a lot more dynamic.
Speaking of those changes, what are the major risks that you feel that you took on this album?
The risks that I really took, I pushed myself out of my comfort zone, you know, which when it comes to recreating the music and performing it, I'm a guitar player primarily, but I wrote most of this on the piano, so I'm playing piano a lot more live. And just vocally, you know, I really wanted to create something that I could actually sing instead of just nicely hum along to, you know, these are songs that really push my vocal ability, and when I do perform them live, I feel like the crowd gets a much better idea of who I am and the real performance aspect of the music.
What do you find to be the hardest part of creating music?
I don't know. That's a tough question. Writing has always come very easy to me. So, you know, I think the hardest part of creating it is finding the right production to suit the song, because there's so many different ways that you can go. You know, when you write a song and it is what it is, it's on the piano or the guitar, it's always perfect for me in that sense, but in order to get it out to the masses, you need to go and take it into the studio and really produce it. Finding the right producer, the right sound for that specific song, that's probably the hardest thing.
Now, when you're working on tracks, are you ever surprised at how a track turns out or how good it becomes?
Yeah, oh, 100%. Always. The first track on this record, I wrote it on the guitar, and when I transposed it onto the piano, it started to take on this life. But I left it in the production team's hands. You know, I kind of gave them the bare bones. I gave them the piano and the vocal to the song "Won't Let You Down," and I told them what I wanted from it, but I didn't expect them to get it so perfect. You know, and what they brought out of it was exactly what had always been inside of my head, and that's kind of a really magical moment when you have a producer that just nails it for you.
Mm-hmm. Working on the album, did you have any thoughts or concepts, or was it more just a fluid process when you went into it?
It was pretty fluid. I had a lot of thoughts and concepts too, but neither of those kind of negated one another. It wasn't like my thoughts or concepts did anything other than really kind of create themselves. They just manifested themselves into what the album became. It was very, very, very fluid this time around.
Is the album a continuation or a reaction to the last?
It's a departure from the last. It's not a continuation at all. I guess it's more of a reaction. I like that. I've never heard that before, but it's definitely a reaction in the sense that I wanted to do something completely different. You know, the first one was, again, it was very safe, and the first record was who I was when I was a teenager, when I was growing up. It was written over like 10 years, and this one was very much in the here and now. It was written from what I was going through a year ago, and it was more based on my it was less based on my influences, more based on what I wanted to create originally. So it was more originality, less influences. The first record was 100% influences.
At this point, what do you value most on this whole music?
It's just being able to do this, you know, to go out, to travel the country, go to a new place every night, and really bring the music to a live crowd. Because I think that playing to a live crowd is kind of that's when the song graduates. If you finally get to connect it with somebody, or hopefully you connect it with someone, and that's what I believe is the most important point of making music. It's not the one recording. It's bringing it out to people night after night and recreating it.
Now, when you had a collection of songs, how did you know that it was an album? Is it just a feeling that you get, or is there more to it?
There were more songs that didn't make the record that I still have. You know, they may or may not ever make another record. But you know, I think I wrote 2 records this time around. There was a first one that was completely buried. You know, it was written a year immediately after Perfect Accident. The only song that made it from that one on to 2 was Kryptonite. I think it just felt right. You know, this album kind of created itself while I was in the studio. There were like 4 or 5 songs that I had ideas that I wanted to be on there, but as I continued to make the album and bring the sounds out, I started to figure out which songs should be included in. We knew when we got to about 12 songs that it was time to kind of call it.
How do you keep the music fresh and interesting to you?
It's, you know, there's small changes that we make live. You know, I like singing it a little bit differently. I think that when you do it in the studio, when I made this record, I'd never played these songs live before. So what you get on the album is kind of just a blueprint for what's going to happen live.
Now, when you look back over the years, what do you consider to be some of the biggest obstacles, like musically and personally, that you had to overcome to get where you are now?
Just a lot of, I mean, early on, there was a ton of success followed by immediate rejection. You know, you have a lot of successes. You sign a record deal and then it doesn't go through, or you know, you think you've got something that's working and then it falls through. So I would say there's a lot of believing in yourself that you need to do that. And you know, in the beginning, I gave up a couple times, but I never completely gave up. You know, there was always something in the back of my mind telling me, even if you fail at this, keep on going. And it's very hard. You need to have a very, very strong head on your shoulders to be able. You need to have a hard head too. You know, you really need to be able to hear the word no and bounce back from it quite easily.
Do you think that music can create real change in the world?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that people listen to what you're actually saying. And I mean, when I'm out here, I'm capturing a crowd in a sense that I'm working with a couple charities, and I'm advocating these charities for the people just to be aware of them. I'm not saying they have to invest money in them, but I'm trying to spread a message, not just through my music, but through music. You know, you tend to open people's ears and sometimes their eyes as well.
What have been the biggest highlights of this year for you?
Releasing the record and having Heartbreak Cover Up have the success that it's had, definitely for me, it's almost a gold record. I've never had a gold record before, so that's I know that's coming down the pipeline, and that for me will make this year one of the most important years I've ever had, because I've been making music for my whole life and I've never had any success like I'm having now.
And any final thoughts? Anything to say to the Raiders of Popularity?
I just hope that they can check out the album. I mean, I know that a lot of people have heard Heartbreak Cover Up, and for me, that's just an intro to what I have on that record. I'm probably going to go and start writing another record when this tour is over, but that's not to say that they shouldn't listen to 2. I'm very proud of it, and I hope that they can all check it out.